Boker Tov. Today's Daf is Daf Kuf Zayin in Ksubis, and we're learning for Ilu Neshama of Menachem Yisrael ben Pinchas. Maybe his Neshama have an Aliyah. Says the we said in the Mishnah we had a machlokas between Hanan ben Avi Shalom and the Bnei Kohanim Gdolim, whether a person went overseas and his wife is demanding food, demanding sustenance, maintenance. So does he have to swear? Does she have to swear to get if there's a report that he died and she's coming like the ksuba, then everybody agrees she has to make a shvua that she hasn't already been paid for the ksuba. But if it's just from a zonos, when he went overseas, and we'll see it's after 3 months that he's been gone, does she have to make a shvua? Now Hanan said no. The others say yes, and we paskin like Hanan. Now the Gemara is going to deal with that. Says the Gemara at the very bottom of Kufav and Beis. Itmar, Rav Amar poskim mazon sa'ishes ish. A woman whose husband went overseas and she's looking for food. So again, after 3 months, she has nothing to eat. We're going to see in a minute that for the first 3 months, we don't listen to her. We assume that he left her something. But after 3 months, Bezin can allocate money from his assets and give it to the wife. That's Rav's opinion. We'll see that's the halacha, but Shmuel disagrees. Shmuel says, "Ain't poskim donations. You don't allocate money for. You don't allocate food for." Now we'll see there's exceptions. Even Shmuel agrees that there's exceptions, but he says she's demanding food. We don't give her any food. Why? We'll see in a second his reasoning. Amar Shmuel Modali Abba. Abba was Rav's name, or he either was a title of respect, or that was his actual first name was Abba. Not we call him Rav because he was the great Rav, but his name was Abba. During the first 3 months, during the first 3 months since he left overseas, she'ain poskin that we don't allocate money for her. Matam lefi she'ain adam menech beis hareken. Nobody leaves their house empty, just takes off. In those days, they didn't just take a flight out of town. Suddenly, they were called to some emergency. In those days, if you traveled, you had to prepare. So he wouldn't have left his house empty. So for the first 3 months, even Rav's mode, according to Shmuel, that you don't allocate anything for her. Let's say they heard that he died. Remember you said that the other day, Michael? You saw Rashi, that Rashi says, if he dies, that's already, everybody agrees you have to make a shvua. If they heard that he died, everybody agrees also, even Shmuel. Even Shmuel says if he heard that he died, and it means she's entitled to the ksuba, certainly she's entitled to food. We'll see in a minute what the difference is when he died, or versus when we didn't hear that he died. They didn't hear that he died. He just went overseas, took a long trip. 3 months have passed. She's looking for food. Shmuel says you don't have to give her food. So Rav says, of course you have to give her food. He's obligated to feed his wife. And if he left overseas, maybe he thought he'd be back. He went for a trip. He thought he'd be back within 3 months, and he didn't show up. You have to take food from his assets and give it to the wife. Shmuel Amar ain't poskin. My time. What's Shmuel's reasoning why you don't? After all, logically, he is obligated to give her food. So 2 reasons are given for Shmuel's ruling. Rav Zvid Amar Emetz Royatva. So we feel that maybe he did leave her some money. She's just looking to get more. Emetz Royatva means he gave her a bundle. He set aside a bundle, meaning he gave her money. He put money into her bank account, or he left her some cash, or he left her some diamonds or gold, whatever, but he gave her some. We assume that he gave her money. He wouldn't have left her like this. And therefore you don't give her any money now, because I'm sure her husband took care of her. That's from his opinion. But Papa Machashin and Shema Amrla, maybe they made a deal. Maybe he said, if a woman is obligated, a man is obligated to feed his wife. A woman is obligated to do certain jobs for him, right? To sew and to clean and things like that. So they might have made a deal. Let's say he says to her, listen, you keep your paycheck, whatever you work, and I won't feed you. Maybe they made such a deal. It's possible. In other words, why do you assume that he is in the wrong over here just because 3 months have passed? She's claiming food. Why do you assume he's knowing? Number one, maybe he did give her money. How do you know what went on between them? Maybe she's got to go into the safe or where they keep their money. Maybe he left her money. Number two, it's possible that he made her deal and said, listen, I'm not going to feed you, and you work and keep your paycheck. So that's Shmuel's reasoning why, in the absence of a report of death, if there's a report of death, okay, then those things don't apply anymore. Number one, because if there's a report of death, even if he did leave her money, she's going to have to swear that she hasn't been paid anything in order to get her ksuba. She's going to have to pay. Rashi says in the third line, Rashi, all right, so for liglas ksuba, so she's going to collect ksuba, and she's going to swear that he hasn't already given her some deposit on that. Remember, once he's dead, if he died, so she's entitled not only to mizonos, but to the ksuba. When she collects ksuba, she has to swear that she didn't have any other money in the house. So there's no concern once he's dead. Also, what's the concern that maybe he made a deal with her, or once he died, that deal is off, right? She's not meshubah to work for him anymore. There's no deal anymore. I'll keep my paycheck and I'm not going to work for you. She's not meshubah to work for him at all. Even for the asomim, they'd have to make a new deal. So there's no concern once he's dead. But Shmuel says if he's not dead, there's no report that he's dead. She's demanding maintenance. You can easily say, very simple, that possibly he gave her money, or it's possible they made a deal. What's the difference between these two reasons? Let's say she's a gdola, meaning she's a responsible woman. She's bat mitzvah. In those days they could have gotten married when they're 5 or 8 or 10 years old. Also, but let's say she's a gdola, and she doesn't make enough money to support herself. So there could be no such deal as you keep your paycheck and I'll keep my food. The husband cannot say that because she can't support herself. She can't support herself with this, but she's gedola. She's old enough that he might have given her money. So the reasoning of tzrari applies. We don't give her food according to Shmuel because maybe he left her money. The reasoning of maybe she's supporting herself and they made such a deal, that doesn't apply if she doesn't have a good enough job. She's not capable of working or whatever. She can't support herself.
What if they give the benefit of the doubt to the woman? That's really good. What's the Chavero?
Yeah. Benefit of the doubt isn't a valid. It doesn't always work. Yeah. Benefit of the doubt is good in a criminal case. Benefit of the doubt, we give benefit of the doubt the guy didn't commit murder unless his witnesses. There we give benefit of the doubt, not for money matters. Like Irving says, let's just see the other reasoning. Inami, the other way around. Let's just see the other reason. The other nothing to be, let's say she's a katana and he wouldn't leave her money because she's not capable, presumably, of judging the sifka, but she happens to have a good lemonade stand or something and she's able to support herself. So the reasoning of supporting herself, that svara would apply, and Shmuel could go according to that. According to Rav Zvid's reasoning of tzrari, that maybe left her money, wouldn't have left money for a katana.
Why would make her make a shua on the zone?
That's what Shchanan says she doesn't have to.
No, but here, why don't we make her make it? Others here, we don't know what to do. This lady started.
Right. So here
we can't give her the money.
Right. So that's exactly the machlokas in our Mishnah.
No, they're talking about the ksuba.
No. We're not the ksuba. The machlokas in the Mishnah is for mazonos. What was the machlokas in the Mishnah between Chanan? We said that on Wednesday. The bottom of Kuf Dal the base, top of Kuf Hamad Aleph. The machlokas over there was for the ksuba for sure she has to make a shvur.
Right.
The machlokas was tishba b'tchila o b'self. Chanan said lo tishba b'tchila, to get mazonos she doesn't have to make a shvur. And the others, Rav Dosa ben Hyrcanus went like the Bnei Kohanim. She does have to make a shvur. Okay, right. She does have to make a shvur. Now we're going to come to the Mishnah. We're going to talk about the Mishnah in detail. But why doesn't she have to make a shvur? Chanan says she doesn't make a shvur. She's entitled to mazonos without a shvur.
We're not giving her mazonos here.
Yeah, who says?
3 months. The 3 month case.
No, during the 3 months.
Why didn't she make a shvur?
No, during the 3 months, if she would make a shvur and said that she didn't get anything, maybe I'd give her during the 3 months too. But without a shvur, for during the 3 months she doesn't get. Here the issue is that she gets mazonos at all. So we have this machlokas Rav and Shmuel. Rav says after 3 months you give her without a shvur, and Shmuel says you don't give her mazonos at all. Now Rav is not even talking about a shvur. Rav's not talking about a shvur. But Rav says you give her after 3 months you give her mazonos. Shmuel says you don't give her mazonos. What about with a shvur or not? So then now we're going to ask kashas from our Mishnah. But remember one important thing that Shmuel agrees that if there's a report that he died, there's a report which means she's entitled to the ksuba as well as mazonos, as long as she's not married. Then even Shmuel's moda that she gets mazonos. Why? Because there's no concern. She's going to be demanding her ksuba. She has to swear then anyway. Did he give him any money? And as far as she's going to earn her own paycheck, she's not obligated to give him anything right now. Once he's dead, she's not obligated to him, and also there's no deal anymore. So those reasons don't apply. Shmuel's 2 reasons for either Rav Zvid's reason or Papa's reason for not giving mazonos doesn't apply once you hear that he's dead. What about our mission? Now we're going to ask a bunch of kashas, but they're all going to have the same answer. Tanan. Our Mishnah, a man went overseas. Meaning he went away. And and she's claiming he was honest. It's exactly our Mishnah. It says she only swears if she's demanding sub at the end after you heard that he died. But for Mazonos, she doesn't have to make a shvur. This is our Mishnah. If Menachon disagree, she has to swear either way, beginning and end. The machlokes between Hanan and Berekon Gdol, do you have to make a shvur or not? But everybody agrees up Mazoni Avinillah. But everybody agrees you give Mazonos. So who does Shmuel go like? And our Mishnah, the machlokes is say make a shvur or not for the Mazonos. But everybody agrees you give Mazonos. Shmuel says you don't give Mazonos. What's going on here? So Targum Shmuel. So Shmuel will explain it. He'll learn that our Mishnah is speaking about when you heard that he died, not like we learned in the Mishnah when you heard that he died. When you heard that he died, Shmuel will say our Mishnah is speaking about when you heard that he died. The machlokas is after where you heard that he died. When you heard that he died, then everybody agrees she gets mazonos. Machlokas is you have to make a shvur, not for it. So that's how Shmuel's going to learn the Mishnah. And now he's going to answer all these kashas that we're going to we're going to be many proofs now that it's clear that you give her mazonos when she demands it. You give her the benefit of the doubt, like you say. Give it like Rav says. You give her the benefit of the doubt. You're asking why does Shmuel say you don't give her the benefit of the doubt? Like you say, money matters. You don't necessarily listen to her. So another case of Brisa says Tashma. It's similar to our Mishnah, but this is a Brisa. Man went away. And his wife is claiming mazonos. She has to swear for the mazonos. The imba, let's say he returns. I gave her mazonos. I set him aside for her. I gave her an allowance. I gave her a wallet full of cash, or I gave her gold or whatever. Nemon, he's believed. So, but what do you see over here? You see over here that went overseas. You give her mazonos. Hanan says you don't make a shvua. Benekam says you do make a shvua. Same kash as the Mishnah. Hachanami. So Shmuel wants the same answer. But Shushamu Shemei says, speak more here. He died. Va'imba va'amar kamar. What do you mean? You heard that he died? You just said that Hanan says you give him mazonos without a shvua. Benekam says with a shvua. And if he shows up and says I gave her mazonos, you believe him. And what do you mean you believe him? What do you do then? She has to return the money. If he swears I gave her mazonos, she's got to return whatever Bezin gave her. Pardon? He has to make a shvur that he gave her money, and then she has to return that money. She return the money that Bezin appropriated for her. But the point is, how could Shmuel say that it's speaking about we heard that he died? It says he just showed up. If he shows up and says I paid her, then and he swears, you believe him, right? Now when he's believed. So how can he show up if you heard that he died? The answer is imba lacha Shmuel. There's no proof that he died. There was a rumor that he died. There's a rumor that he died. As we'll see, a woman is believed to say, my husband died. I want to get remarried. Went overseas, and she says, because she says, the assumption is she's not going to ruin herself. She's believed to say that her husband died. Misa is common. She's not believed. We'll talk about that. But she's not believed to say that he divorced her. L'chumra, we do believe it. But l'kula, we don't. We don't believe it. But to say that he died, it's a common thing. What is she supposed to do? And we assume she doesn't want to become a sota, so we allow her to get remarried. So the answer is imba lacha Shmuel. There was a rumor that he died. That's how Shmuel will learn that it's speaking about where there was a rumor. Such a rumor died. According to Rav, we learn it straight. This is not like our Mishnah was. There was no rumor that he died. If there was a rumor that he died, that's different. Then she wants to collect a ksuba. She has to make a shvua. But if there's no rumor that he died, she's just coming from mazonos. She can collect without a shvur according to Hanan, and according to Benekon, she has to make a shvur. Tashma, another proof. All these proofs are going to be answered the same way. Tashma Mishal Minasayam. Bishat Tavas Mazonos, the same thing. A man went away, and his wife is claiming Mazonos. Imba, the gear says, Imba v'Amar Tzimaisi Def Masayach. If he shows up now, and he said, listen, I told her to go keep her own paycheck. I don't have to feed her. Rashah, he's allowed to, if there was such a deal. Of course, she has to agree to it. Kidmu, if he claims that that was the deal and they can prove that she agreed to it, then fine. But let's say Kidmu Bezin and Pasco. Let's say before he showed up, she made a claim and Bezin appropriated his assets for her to feed her. Masha Pasco, whatever they did is done. So what do you see? That Bezin does appropriate money to feed a woman if her husband went away, not like Shmuel. So Shmuel would say the same answer, speaking of where they heard that he died. When they heard that he died, since she's entitled to the ksuba and she's going to have to make a shvua anyway, there's no concern that maybe he left her some cash on the side, and there's no concern about a deal where keep your paycheck in lieu of feeding you, because he doesn't have to give. She's not mechuyev to give him her paycheck anyway. That whole deal is off. She'd make a new deal with the assailant, but if she's lacking that, she doesn't have to. Tashma. Mishal minasayam. Another case. Another same kind of a story. Man went overseas. Bezdin Yordan lachasa. Bezdin can go down and garnish his assets. Vizanin, and they feed her. Umafarnasin, and clothe her. Leishto. Avalo barabavanosa. You only feed his wife, not his children. And you don't give her something else. In other words, you only appropriate his assets to feed the wife, to feed and clothe the wife, but not his children, and not for other expenses. We'll see what davar acher refers to. But the point is again, another kasha on Shmuel. Shmuel says over here, what did Shmuel say? You don't feed his wife, right? If she demands it. Here you say you do. Rav Shesha says, "B'mashra es ishtai deishlish." Here it's speaking about where he appointed a trustee, a guardian, to feed his wife. What happened over here? He appointed a guardian to feed his wife, so you know that he didn't give her any money on the side, and you know there was no deal that keep your paycheck in lieu of the food, because he appointed somebody to feed her. So what happened? Where is this guy? The guy quit. Never happened that way. You hire somebody to do a job and they quit in the middle. Happens sometimes, right? The guardian said, I had enough of this guy, of this woman. I'm not feeding her. I'm not taking care of it anymore. So she comes to the court and says, listen, he's not feeding. He had my husband's money and he's not feeding me anymore. So I demand it. Okay. If he appointed the guardian to feed his family, so why do you say the guardian is supposed to feed the wife? And now if the guardian quit, you have to give the wife food. What about the children? So as the answer is, well, he appointed a guardian only to feed his wife and not to feed his children. The Gemara says, my piska, how is that definite? Notice, you just said a case. If a man goes overseas and his wife is demanding his own, he feed her but not the kids. Oh, it's speaking about where he appointed a guardian for the wife and he quit, but he didn't appoint it for the kids. So say so. You just said it's stam. You said it. If a man goes overseas and he appointed a guardian, you feed the wife, not the kids. So say it's speaking how is that definite? You can't just give a halacha like that without it specifying. He appointed a guardian for the wife and not for the kids. That doesn't make sense. Elam Papa, that's not the case at all. Here's what happened. The man went overseas, and there was a rumor that he died. There was one witness came and said that he died. Can a woman get married based on testimony of one witness? We've learned that she can't. Why? Because we have a clause. She's going to check it out. She doesn't want to get messed up and wind up being a sota. Okay, so if she herself says that he died, that's also valid. But if one aide comes along, the boys but she can get married beidach, she can get married based on testimony of one witness. The rabbis were makel, matzi mitzvah. If she wants to get married based on testimony of one witness, she could get married. So mazaninam, we also give her mazonos. If she's free to get married, that means we assume her husband's dead, so she's entitled to get mazonos. But it's children, they're not entitled to the Yerusha based on the testimony of one aide. One aide comes along and says, your father's dead. Great, we want the Yerusha. Baruch Dayan Emes, we want the Yerusha now, based on one witness. You don't give them the money. If they want to go down and take his assets, they can't go in there. That's what it's speaking over here. Where there was one witness that said that he died. So one witness said that he died. That's even stronger than a rumor. So Shmuel will have no problem dismissing this case as a case where there's also a rumor that he died. More than a rumor, there's one witness. So she's entitled to mazonos because she could even get remarried. Children are not. My davar acher. What do you say that in this case, you feed the wife, there's one witness that he died, but you don't feed the children because one aid isn't good enough. And you don't supply davar acher. What is davar acher? We had this before. You don't give her perfumes, jewelry, stuff like that. But they used to appropriate tzedakah from everybody. They would make a demand. Everybody has to give everybody in the neighborhood, in the village, whatever the town, has to give tzedakah X amount of money. And you take it from a person who's not in town. Man left town. Are you allowed to go into his assets and take the tzedakah that the Vad of the city demand, the Jewish Vad demand that people give? You don't take the tzedakah. If you learn that you don't give her tachshitim koshnim, you certainly don't give her tzedakah. That's not for the family. Bezin doesn't take tzedakah for the poor people from his nechasim. When everybody else is giving tzedakah, they don't give tzedakah. But if you say you don't give tzedakah, I will tachshiyah binallah. Not only do you give her food and clothing, but you give her jewelry and perfume. He doesn't want his wife to become repulsive. In other words, a woman has to dress up, otherwise she's not a proper woman. So that was the issue there. But again, there we're speaking about where there was even more than a rumor that he died. And Shmuel's motive when there's a rumor that he died, that she's entitled to mazonos because she's going to get a ksuba anyway, and the reasons for not giving her, because you're afraid that maybe he gave her money on the side, he has set aside money for her, or that they had a deal, work for your own, keep your own paycheck. Those things don't apply once it's assumed that he's dead. Yeah. Pardon?
What happens to the children? They're going to pay for the children. So what they're going to go out and beg?
Just they send them out to the.
Yeah. They go to the What did you say, Rami?
They send them out to the Pesach. They go door to door collecting.
Door to door collecting, right. Okay.
But this is quite an anomaly. The Somin, their mother can remarry,
Right.
based on her testimony.
Correct.
What about? But let's say for Yerusha, these Somin
Can't get the Yerusha.
they don't get a Yerusha. Who gets it?
There's no death certificate, right? There's no death certificate.
Right. In other words, but it's an anomaly.
Can you go to probate? I'll ask you as a lawyer, can you go to probate without a death certificate? No, right? That's exactly what it is.
No,
It's
but
an anomaly.
Yeah,
Not an anomaly. In other words,
She can get married.
she can get married.
That's
no
correct.
interest.
That's
There's no
correct.
mom here,
That's correct.
Right.
That's
And
correct.
these are stepbrothers.
That's correct.
Brothers.
Let's hope he doesn't show up after she gets
Right.
remarried. Let's hope he doesn't show up. Right. Because she's going to check it out correctly. But money matters is one thing. Isha is something else. Two different things.
What did we learn earlier about that? She should have checked it out. Remember?
Yeah, it's something. It's her fault because she should check it out. If the husband shows up afterwards, she has to leave both marriages because she's
That's
a
because
soda.
she should have.
We should have checked it out. Isha daika mitzvah. That's the quote. Tashma. Another proof. We're at the top of Kuf Zayin Amabez, the second line. Tashma. Another proof. Hayavama. What happens when a woman does? We talked Yavamas a lot. The Yavamas finished with Ksubas. We remember Yavamas. Well, with our case, we had Reuben and Shimon were two brothers. Reuben was married to Leah, died with no children. Now, what is Leah supposed to do at this point? Supposed to make Yibam with Reuben, right? Or give a chalitza. Okay. Can he make Yibam right away? No, you always have to wait 3 months. Between any marriage, you have to wait 3 months for Avchana Zeret. Child it is. So she can't get married for 3 months. She can't get married to anybody else. Can't get married to anybody else either, right? Even if it was a chalitza, she can't get married to anybody else, and she can't get married to him. So during those first 3 months, the first 3 months, Nizonis Mishabala. So she's entitled to get Mizonis from her original husband, from Reuven, right? Because he died, and she's an almana. She's entitled to Ksubit. Don't forget here, in this case, the Yisomim. There are no Yisomim. There are no Yisomim with her, right? There's no Yisomim, right? Because there's no. If there'd be Yisomim, it wouldn't be a case of Yibam. Okay, so there's no Yisomim over here. So what happens? Shimon's going. If he does the Yibam, if he commits the Yibam, then he will get the Yerusha. Okay, but what does she do? During the first 3 months, she gets Mazonos from her husband. After 3 months, she's not entitled anymore to Mazonos from the husband, right? It all goes according to Shimon. Ein Mazonos, lo mishabav, lo mishayavam. The Yavam is not obligated. He didn't marry her. He's not mechuyev to give her food. And she's not entitled to Mazonos anymore from her husband because now basically everything is in limbo. It's waiting for Shimon to act on the whole issue. Right? Let's say Amma B'din, she says, okay, listen, put up or shut up, either marry me or give me a chalitza. Let me out of here, right? Give me chalitza. If he does chalitza, fine. Then she can get her ksuba at least. She'll have something, right? She's entitled to the ksuba, right? And even if let's say her father-in-law inherits her, or all the brothers-in-law. Remember we had before, the Yavam inherits the whole thing if he makes Yibam. But let's say he doesn't make Yibam, so whoever his heirs are, his father, that would be her father-in-law or his brothers, whatever. So she makes a demand. I'm a bedin, and she says, "Listen, either marry me or give me chalitza." And Ubarach, he ran away. He escaped. Now what does she do? Nizonos mishal yavam, right? She gets mizonos from the yavam because he's done the wrong over here. He should have either given her food or dismissed her, given her chalitza. And if she gave her chalitza, she would have got her ksuba. She was used to get her ksuba. Now she's in limbo. She can't collect the ksuba because maybe he's going to perform yibam, right? Maybe he's going to perform yibam. And what is she supposed to do? So they give her mizonos from the yavam. But what do you see over here, though? That she's entitled to mizonos. You don't just send her away. This case where the yavam ran away is like a husband who went overseas and didn't show up after 3 months, didn't come back. You see, you give her mizonos. Over here, there's no concern. Over here, of course, you can give her mizonos from the yavam. What's the concern? That he gave her money on the side? He ran away. He's not giving her money. He's not close to her. Obviously, he ran away. He doesn't even know if he's going to commit to making yibam with her. So he certainly wouldn't give her money. What do you mean? She's not mashubah to give money. There's no deal over here. I won't give you the food and you keep your paycheck. There's no deal. I'm not entitled. She doesn't give him his paycheck anyway. She's not married to him. So there's no deal over here. So therefore, she's definitely entitled to mazonos after 3 months. Right, for the first 3 months she gets from the husband's estate because she wasn't allowed to get married to anybody, not to anybody. Then after 3 months, if he doesn't want to put up and marry her, she's entitled to get mazonos if he's away. If he's not away, then the court will demand either do one or the other. Yeah.
What happens to my CDL?
That's hers. That's she keeps.
hers.
That's hers anyway. That's hers anyway. That's not a deal. I'm not going to feed you. Normally, a husband could say, "Listen, you keep your paycheck," and if she agrees, if her paycheck suffices, you could agree to that. And maybe that's Shmuel's normal concern, our papa, but there's no concern over here because that's only a deal if she's listen. What I owe you, you owe me. The husband tells wife, you owe me your work, you owe me your paycheck, and I owe you mazonas. So I'll tell you what, you keep your paycheck and I'll give mazonas. That's only a deal if she owes him her paycheck. But over here, she doesn't owe him his paycheck, so there's no such deal. He has to give him mazonas anyway.
So the paycheck doesn't belong to the first guy. He's probably dead.
He is dead. We're talking about he died.
It
And-
doesn't belong to the kids.
It doesn't belong to the kids and doesn't belong to the other. So she's entitled to it anyway. In other words, she's entitled to her paycheck anyway. There's no deal over here. You keep your paycheck and I'll keep the mazonos. If she has to give him mazonos anyway, there's no deal over here. There's no deal. The deal is only if she agreed, if she's obligated, just like he's obligated to give mazonos, and she agrees, and her paycheck will cover her food. Tashma, another proof. Now they both went overseas. And she comes back. Your husband died. And we said, like Rashi quotes over here, and she's allowed to get married based on her own testimony, right? Because she's died mitzvah. Ratza nizonis, ratza gova. Ksubasa, she can either get mazonis, she says her husband's dead, or she can get her ksuba, whichever she prefers. If she wants her ksuba, right? If she wants her ksuba, she's entitled to that. That will end the relationship, right? At that point. If she wants, she could just get the mazonis, or she can say, I want the mazonis now, and I'm not going to demand my ksuba till later on, or she can ksuba. Gershaniba, let's say she says, my husband divorced me. On that, she's not necessarily believed, but we believe her l'chumra. What does that mean? What does that mean? If he divorced her, there is no mazonos, right? Mazonos is only when he died. If he divorced her, she's entitled to the ksuba, but not the mazonos. So if she says he divorced me, so she wants mazonos now. Pardon?
Show me the get.
She doesn't have the get. We don't. If there would be a get, there would be no question. But she says he divorced me. We don't believe her. Like for example, to get married, we don't believe her. But we give her mazonos. How much mazonos? She's not entitled to mazonos. We give her mazonos towards her ksuba. Let's say the mazonos is $5 a week, and the ksuba is $200. Fine. So you give her that many weeks. What is it? 40 weeks of mazonos. You can give her that until her ksuba is completed, right? But what do you see over here? You see over here that you give her mazonos, and you give her mazonos whether she says her husband died or whether she says her husband divorced her. You can give her mazonos. Here it's speaking about we heard that he died. we heard that he died. There was a rumor that he died. Therefore, she's going to be entitled to the ksuba anyway. Therefore, there's no concern about sorry because she's going to have to swear. And if we heard that he died, she's no longer obligated to give him a paycheck. So if that's the case, so Maishna ad kedei ksuvasa, right? So why do you only give her the ksuba? If you heard that he died, so she's entitled to mazonos and to the ksuba if she demanded the ksuba. Now she can demand the mazonos for years and years, right? As we learned before, up to 25 years or possibly even longer, depending where she lived. And later on she can get a ksuba. Why do you say you only give her up to $200 worth of food, so to speak, right? The ksuba is $200, up to $200 worth of food. Because she put herself in a bad position. We heard that he died. There was rumor that he died. She says he divorced me. Wait a minute. If you're claiming that he divorced you, you're not entitled to any mazonos. You're only entitled to the ksuba. Yeah, the ksuba, yes, because the ksuba you're entitled to whether he died or whether he divorced you. But mazonos you're not entitled to yours. So yeah, normally she'd be entitled to the whole amount of to the mazonos and the ksuba. But she said that he divorced me. So she herself is saying I'm not entitled to mazonos. But we're not sure what happened. Fine, so you give her mazonos onto the ksuba. If she demanded her ksuba, she could demand the whole ksuba right now too. Because either way, she can get her ksuba. She swears she hasn't been paid anything, and there's a rumor that he died. And she says he divorced me. There's no proof either way. Either way, she's entitled to the ksuba. But let's say she says no. She might say he divorced me, but I'm not sure, or maybe it's a suffix if it was divorced or not. So she might say I only want the mazonos because thinking that maybe indeed he died. Or maybe he'll show up, or I thought he divorced me, whatever happened, maybe he'll show up, meaning that she doesn't have to get her old ksuba right now. Once she gets a ksuba, it's over. But what if he shows up, or if it turns out that he actually died, she's entitled to mazonos plus the ksuba. So maybe she doesn't want the whole ksuba right now. But again, it's
better off lying that he died.
Yeah, correct. She's keeping her mouth shut. Tashma. Okay, in other words, she's only entitled to the total amount of $200 because she opened up her mouth. She herself caused her a problem. Tashma. Case of Amamenes Aima Mazonos. Amamenes, what's Amamenes? A young girl who's under the not bar mitzvah, who was married not in the Kedusha D'Oraisa. Her father didn't marry her off, but her mother or brothers married her off to get her off the streets. And she's not entitled to mazonos. That's what it says. She's one of the women who don't get mazonos. Remember, he said the islanders, others don't get mazonos. So what's the case here? We can't be speaking about where she's still living with her husband. If she's living with her husband, he has to give her food. What do you mean she's not entitled to food? She's still married to him. So what do you mean? After she makes mian, we understand, right? But what do you mean? Not while she's married, of course she still gets mazonos. El kagom sheholach ba'al dinasiyam. And what do we mean over here that she's not entitled to mazonos? After all, she knows the marriage. What does mian? She walks away from the marriage. There's no ksuba over here. She's not like she's divorced or widowed, that she's entitled to a ksuba, entitled to mazonos. So what do you mean she doesn't have mazonos? Here's what happened. El kagon shalach ba'am siyam, her husband, while she was married to went overseas. Love says she borrowed money or borrowed food, let's say, but and she ate that. Umda, she got up now after the husband came back, said, hey, you left me alone here. Umia, she walked away. And then in that case, so what's the issue? If it would be a regular wife, as we'll see, a regular wife and borrowed money. So the guy who lent her the money would make a claim against her, and she would make a claim against her husband, and the guy would have to get paid at the end of the day. But if she walked away from it, he's not responsible for it. That's the example we say, Memenes ein la mazonos. Mazonos that she borrowed while he was away, and now she walked away from the marriage. He doesn't have to. She's not entitled to that. Time of the mina. The reason why isn't she not entitled to mazonos? Because she walked away from the marriage. She annulled it. Hello, mina. If she didn't walk away, we give it to her. We give her the money. We give her the mazonos. Right? Where the husband walked. What was the case here? The husband went away, and she had to borrow money. Right, from the mazonos, and we give her the mazon, and we give it to her while she's married. So if she knows it, then she's not entitled. If she didn't know it, we give it to her. It's again a kashan shmuel. What's the concern over here? If it's because maybe he left her money, nobody gives money cash to a young girl under the age of 12. She's not responsible. He didn't give money. It's because maybe they made a deal. Well, you keep your paycheck. Tana lo safka. The assumption is that a Tana, even though we said before that there are cases where a Tana could have a good lemonade stand or whatever, but a Tana usually is not going to make enough money to feed herself. Therefore, there's no concern. So again, Shmuel said, when Shmuel agreed that when you heard that he died, or when there was no concern about, about any of the issues about maybe he left her some money, or maybe he agreed that, she can keep her paycheck. When there's no such concern, he's moda that you give her mazonos. So therefore, that's what Shmuel said. So Shmuel and Rav, though, had a basic argument that when you did not hear that he died, Rav says you give her mazonos anyway after 3 months, and Shmuel says, no, you don't give her mazonos because maybe he left her money on the side, or maybe they made a deal, keep your paycheck for your food. My havila, what's the halacha? Now we're going to have two versions of a story that happened in Eretz Yisrael. He said, Amar, there's a story that came before Rebbe, the Beit Sharim, when Rebbe's town. Upasik mazonos, a story like this, and Rebbe gave him mazonos. So Rebbe paskin like we see Rav. When a similar story happened in Sipori, in the neighboring city of Sipori, before Rabbi Shmuel below pasuk mazonos, he didn't give mazonos. Toiba Rabbi Yochanan was amazed. Rabbi Yochanan was the great posting in Eretz Yisrael. Said, why did Rabbi Shmuel give him mazonos? Right? Like we've argued. Mechanan did not argue. Mishnah Elinian Shwift, you make a shvurik like mazonos. Av mazoni yavino, but you give mazonos. Same kasha we had on Shmuel and Aleph. The same thing that Rabbi Yochanan had a kasha on Rabbi Shmuel. Amalei Rav Shimon Barabba Kfar Tirgama Rabbeinu Shmuel. Notice Shmuel is always called Shmuel because he didn't have smicha. It's not called Rabbi Shmuel because he lived in Arda. He was in Bavel, right? So he's Rav, who lived in Eretz Yisrael also. He was back and forth. Shmuel's over here. He calls him Rabbeinu Shmuel. Even though he's not called Rabbi Shmuel, but he was called our master, our teacher. And Shmuel explained, but Bavel, he explained there. Again, that's speaking of a case where they heard that he died. Therefore, she's entitled. Since she's entitled to the ksuba, she's also entitled to the mazonos, like we said in Aleph. Amrulay. So Rav Shimon Bar Abba said, in other words, Rabbi Yochanan asked, how could Rabbi Shmuel paskin that way? So Rav Shimon asked, no, he explained that it's speaking where he heard that he died. So Rabbi Yochanan retorted, Amrulay pasrisa ba'koli hai. Now you've explained it all. Now I understand it. Kiyasa Rav, and some say this is like as a kasha. Does that explain everything? But the Pashtas pasrisa kolai, you've explained it all now. Now we're going to see the exact same story, but the opposite figures. Kiyasa Rabin, when Rabin came from Eretz Yisrael, he told the story, but reversing the figures. Amar Maisboth Rebbe, Beisharim, the story in Beisharim with Rebbe Evelo Pasuk. Rebbe did not give mazonos. Let's say Rabbi Shmuel B'Zipar Pasuk. The same story, but it's reversed. Rabbi Shmuel was the one who gave him mazonos. Rebbe in Beisharim did not give mazonos. Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan said, "Ma Rav Rebbe Shlo Pasuk." Why did Rebbe not give him mazonos? Again, Lo Nachlu B'Chanan B'Reikan Gam Machlokes, and I mentioned was only in Shvif to make a shvur to collect mazonos. Av mazonos Yavina. Amalei Rav Shimon Barabbas. Rav Shimon answered Rabbi Yochanan the same thing. Kfar Tirgum Rav Shmuel. Tagvir Shmuel. He didn't call him Rabbeinu Shmuel. Kfar Tirgum Rav Shmuel. Shmuel in Bavel already explained it. Shisham Bo Shemeis. Speaking about we heard that he died. Amalei Pasrisa B'Kol. You've explained all this. What's the halacha? Because we try to say what's the halacha of my havilah, and you've seemed to explain that from these stories that you do have to give him mazonos. Even the one who didn't give him mazonos was, the one who did not give him mazonos, right? How will he learn that? How did he not give mazonos? Well, in our Mishnah speaking about where he died, but otherwise you don't give mazonos. So we see still different opinions like Rav and like Shmuel. Bilsik said Rav. Fellows like Rav will post mazonos li'eshes ish. You give a mazonos li'eshes, and we also post like Hanan in our Mishnah that's even without a shvuah. Bilsik Vasli Rav Huna Amarav. Also we're posting halachas. Also it's like Rav Huna Barav. Rav Huna Barav. Yichol ish shetomer labal. A woman could tell her husband ain't in mazonos for any else. Just like we said before. A woman could say, a man can make a deal with his wife and say, you keep your paycheck, I'm not going to feed you. And the similar, if she agrees, and a woman could go tell her husband that too. It's her choice. If she says, listen, I don't want your mazonos, I'll take my paycheck. It's bigger than yours. She can do that. The halacha is like Rav Zvid when it comes to glazed earthenware vessels. What do we mean by that? Rav Zvid. Had this from Sachem. Hani mani de kunya. If you have earthenware vessels that are glazed, that means that they're lined on the outside with this kind of a opheret, like a kind of a lead. If it's white or black lead, that seals it very good. Sharu, you're allowed to use those, or you can kasha them on for Pesach. In other words, earthenware vessels absorb; they can't be clean, they can't be made. However, if they're glazed with white or black, with this white or black, kind of a lead, then it doesn't absorb, and then these can be cleaned for Pesach. Yeruki asuri, but if they're green means that they've been mixed with an alum. I met a guy the other day who involved in all kinds of oil, that he sells olive oil from the West Bank, sells it to people in America to try to improve the economy of the West Bank. And the number of kinds of oils of olive oil is unbelievable. That they produce in Turkey and Spain, they produce olive oil, mixing it with all kinds of other gook, and the impurities are unbelievable. They bring them like in the same tankers that they deliver oil tankers, that they oil for your car and stuff. They put them in there too. But the point is that here, if it's green, that means it's mixed with an alum. That it's a kind of a mixture that causes it to be more absorbent. So if it's white or black lead, then it's clean and it's a good, and it keeps it from absorbing anything. There's no chametz in there. If it's green, then it's mixed with an alum, and then it does with a blow. And even the white or black, elad by kartufni, that's only if it has no cracks in it. But if there's cracks in the lead, then the chametz could get in there. Then it can't be cleaned properly, and it's also to use on Pesach. Says the Mishnah, the second halacha that we pass like Hanan. A man, they're not speaking words, she made a claim. Man went overseas, let's say some months have passed, and some guy gets up there, he wants to be a good Samaritan, and he sees that the wife is hungry, and he feeds this guy's wife. He says, I'll take it upon myself. Fine, you want to give tzedakah, fine, but the husband's not required to pay him back. Nobody asked you. I didn't ask you to feed her. They disagreed. But he must swear how much he spent, and he can make that demand on the traveler's assets. Those men here, because the same way we saw in the first Mishnah, those menikers kid the brand. He went like the B'nai Dolim. That makes a shvur and he gets what he wants. Just like he paskin like Hanan in the first Mishnah, she doesn't have to take a shvur to get her mazonos. Also paskin Yaf Amar Hanan. Hanan is correct. He niach most of our current fee. This guy, this good Samaritan, he wanted to do something nice. He says, "Oh, maybe she's going to be hungry. I'm going to feed her." It's like you put your money on the horn of a deer, and the deer is easily runs away. I left my coffee on. Ever see the coffee guy left it on the car? He runs away. You left it there. It's gone. It's gone. You threw your money out. That's your Ibn Mosef. Too bad you lost your own money. He's not responsible for it. And here also in these two cases, the halacha is like Hanan. In the next Mishnah, so we're going to learn between here and the end of the parak, which is the end of the Masechet, which I'm going to see him on on Tuesday? Let's see, Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday we make a see in Mirz Hashem. So the rest of the Mishnahs here are going to give us the 7 halachas that of Admon. Remember, we said there are two Danei Xeris in Yerushalayim, Admon and Hanan. Hanan said 2 things. We've now just learned the 2 things. The second Mishnah is just the second thing. In both cases, we pass like Hanan. And we'll see about Admon's cases, do we pass like him or not. The other 7 cases we're going to learn between now and the end of the parak. So tomorrow's daf is Daf Kukhes. That's on the podcast. And on Sunday, Mirz Hashem, we'll start with the last line, just like we're on the last line here now, the Mishnah at the bottom of Kufches and Beis. Have a good Shabbos. Everybody.
Good Shabbos.